Hi.
Hi, my name is Bunny Bennett, and this handsome young man here is my grandson Carter. And today we're going to do a lesson. We're going to learn a little bit about the Mayan culture and hieroglyphics, Mayan to modern. Carter, who were the Mayans?
They were Indians that were, they were type of farmer Indians.
Well, that's right. Where did they live?
They lived in Mexico.
Well, yes, they lived in Mexico, but they also encompassed a large area of Mesoamerica, which is Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Belize. So they lived actually in this whole region here. And you're right, they were farmers. They were considered a sedentary society. Do you know what kind of things they would farm?
Corn and beans.
Yeah, you knew that because look. Yeah, they farmed. They did corn. You want to feel it? And they did beans. And they also did chili peppers and squash. And they had a huge trade network. And do you know what that would mean?
That means they would go, other Indians would trade with them.
Exactly. Why would they do that?
So because some Indians would make, some Indians may have stuff that the Mayans and Mayan went. So
that's right. So if they lived like some of the Indians might have lived along the sea, and they would have all kinds of sea things, and ocean products, and the Mayans lived inland, so they would have things like game, turkeys and deer and things that the Indians that lived along the sea might not have. You're exactly right. Okay, the Mayans were awesome. They were absolutely awesome. They were great architects. They were mathematicians. They were astronomers. They were artists. They had one of the most beautiful writing forms in existence. And they lived in ornate cities. These pictures, okay, this is Palenque in Mexico, and this is Chichen Itza. And you know what? I've been to the top of Chichen Itza. This is their observatory in Chichen Itza. And this is Uxmal, and then this is in Honduras and El Salvador. But I have actually been to these three places. Now, when you think of an observatory, what do you think of?
Someplace they would observe.
But what are they observing?
Nature.
No, an observatory has to deal with astronomy. Remember, we've been to one.
Oh, yeah.
And they have telescopes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't have telescopes. But they were such great astronomers, Carter. If you see these little windows that are inside, they had these set in the perfect places where at certain times of year the sun would come in a certain way. It would also, the stars and the constellations, they could view them at certain points within this. So they were really intelligent. And if you look at their city, their cities were large and ornate. They had temples. And realize they didn't have anything to build with. They built all of this by hand.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And they had a 365-day calendar. They actually, just like we do, they had a 365-day year. And this is the Mayan calendar. Look how beautiful and ornate it is. And there are still some places within Mesoamerica that they still use the Mayan calendar. Now, when you talk about their writing, they're only one of three societies that had a complete writing system. And look at their writing. It's absolutely beautiful. It has a lot of flowing lines. But can you understand what it says?
I think this one's about, some, what would it be about? It looks like dragons.
Well, the thing about the Mayan code, they call it the Mayan code, and the thing about this is that really they haven't been able to read it. Now in the last 25 years, they've actually developed some things that will allow them, they're starting to break this code. But it's been very difficult. In Mayan writing, we read left to right, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the Mayans, they read up, down, and that's how they read. Now, the Mayans also had the number 0. Very few people back then used 0 like we do. They also, their writing is considered to be one of the most beautiful in the world. And they consider it a calligraphy style writing. Have you ever seen calligraphy?
No.
This is modern day calligraphy. And calligraphy just means beautiful writing. Now, you can read what that says, right?
It says calligraphy.
Yeah. The difference with the Mayans is you really can't read what it says. But the reason they compare the two is because they both have the flowing lines and they're very artistic. Now, by the 9th century, the Mayans were really fighting among themselves. I mean,
What's that mean?
they were fighting. They had their politics. They were mad about their leaders. And so they started abandoning their cities over here. And they started moving up into Mexico, into Chichen Itza, Uxmal, and Palenque. And they lived there until about the 16th century. And then by the 16th century, the Spanish came to Mexico, and they started a war with the Spanish. And by 1697, the last city fell. But they left behind, the Mayan art is still studied today worldwide. And I've got something for you to look at.
What is this?
This is a sample. Now, this isn't real Mayan art. This was a replica that's been done by some of their ancestors. But this was one of their gods. Go ahead and feel it. Now, they carved their stuff in stone, just like this.
But there's carpet people.
Yeah, like I said, this is not real Mayan art. This is just a replica of some of the things that they did. But you can look at how intricate and ornate all of this was. Feel that. Isn't it beautiful? You can understand why people today are still studying this art. Now, the Mayan culture is defined by its art and its hieroglyphics. I mean, when you think of Mayans, after this class, you're going to think of the hieroglyphics, right? Now, let me ask you a question. Do we have hieroglyphics in modern times?
Mm-hmm. By the way, I'm sitting right next to them.
That's right. Actually, but there's some similarities and there's some differences. Let's take a look at our pictograms. Now, if somebody came from around the world and they saw this little dog with a line through it, they'd probably know what that means, right?
Mm-hmm. No pets.
No pets. That's exactly it. And right here, what's that?
What?
Right here.
The bat symbol.
Batman. Do you think there is anybody in this world that doesn't know Batman?
Yeah, I think there's some people that know.
Well, maybe, but it's pretty universal. And what about the Nike swoosh? I don't have that up here, but everybody knows what the Nike swoosh looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's on everyone's computer.
Well, and it's on everybody's tennis shoes, right? So, some differences between, what would you think some differences between these two would be?
Well, they're not, this one, they're upwards.
Well, and maybe, do you think it's as artistic? These are as artistic as this?
No, that's more artistic.
Yeah. And what about, do you think more people could read this than this?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So it's more understandable. It's not just for one person to read. But there's another type of hieroglyphics that we do in modern day. Graffiti. Exactly. Can you read that?
No.
Yeah, me either. But it's really pretty, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, graffiti is a beautiful art form, although only a few people can understand what it means. So that might be kind of similarities between the two, right? Very few people can read Mayan code, but they think it's beautiful, just like this is beautiful. It has the beautiful lines and it flows. What about some differences between graffiti and the Mayan art, or the Mayan hieroglyphics?
Well, some people don't know how to pronounce, know what that says at all. But
Well,
some people know what this says.
Well, I think you probably, in both of them, there's probably a group of people that knows this just as this. Maybe, though, maybe one of the differences could be how they make it.
And this one,
They chiseled this into stone, right? And they used an ochre paint and painted on a plaster. This one, however, they use cans of spray paint. They might use chalk and things like that. So the medium is a little bit different that they use. Well, today we're going to do something really fun. You're going to make your own hieroglyphics. I want you, it doesn't have to be ornate like the Mayans or graffiti, but I want you to tell a story about yourself. Pretend that somebody is coming from a foreign country that cannot speak English, and you want them to know something about you. And it can be maybe the type of computer games you like, or how many pets you have, your pets, or it could be maybe your family members. And what I want, it needs to be a short story, and I'm going to show you in a minute what we're going to do.
does it have to be pictures?
It has to be pictures, no writing, because remember, they're not going to be able to understand what you're saying, right? Okay, so what we're going to do, let's move this. And I've got this all set up right here. Okay. Let's move all this out of the way. Okay. Now, if you look right here, do you know what these are?
Those, I don't know.
This is clay tiles. Now feel them. They're kind of soft. Okay, but what we're going to do, first you're going to draw your hieroglyphics on here. Okay, and you can use your matte colors or you can use regular pencils. And then what we're going to do after you get through, we are going to take the clay and you're going to transfer it onto the clay tiles. We'll stick a hole right here and then we're going to bake it in the oven. And what will happen is this will get really hard and you can hang it up on your wall. And maybe in 500 years or so, somebody will find your clay tile and they'll learn a little bit about Carter. Okay, in the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on this project. And what we'll do is, as soon as Carter is through with his project, we'll take a picture of everything that's finished and I will include it with a lesson plan. Thank you.